Halo Infinite is about the power of love and perseverance. It turns the faceless Master Chief into a beacon of hope. That's neat and all, but here's 18 years of built up childhood trauma. An imposter Master Chief gets absolutely wrecked by this big gorilla and then dropped into space like plastic into the ocean. Not to worry, Space Uber was here to save the day. My driver kept telling me about his problems, so I left, since the boredom would have killed me before a ship full of hostile aliens and explosives. Putting me and explosives together is like putting Bill Cosby and sleeping medication together. Not a very good idea. I got to this room and replaced the engine oil with cooking oil. It turns out that the Banished weren't too happy with my harmless prank. And by harmless, I mean harmless to me. Everyone else was screwed. I tumbled my way out of the doomed ship and headed to Oklahoma, if Oklahoma was actually an underground facility built by an advanced alien race on a weapon of mass destruction. All this grunt killing reminded me of the time when I was younger playing through Halo 2. I was on one of the Arbiter's levels, and my grunt companion had died, since they aren't good for anything else. After he passed, I vowed to never kill a grunt again. As you can tell by this footage, that lasted less than my no crack on February 29th, 30th, and 31st challenge. Sob story aside, I continued forward until I found Cortana if she wore clothes, was twice as annoying, and oh yeah, didn't just try and enslave the entire galaxy. That's no big deal, I think we've all done that at least once. I take the weapon. That's her name, by the way. Her cousin is named the automobile, and her dad the food. I quickly eliminate the banished forces, which she takes note of.
Wow, you got here fast. Not the type to waste any time, huh?
What a nice change it is to have a woman who doesn't say, WTF, you only lasted 13 seconds? Speaking of 13 seconds, check out this boss fight. I rode an elevator to the surface and made a body count that was almost the equivalent of an 11th grade hoe. I then heard that some MILF sons had gone to college, so I boarded this dropship and headed over to their homes. Along the way, the weapon started asking some uncomfortable questions. Why didn't you tell me you were wanted in 15 states for public indecency? Why is your baby cousin on the sex offender list? Is it true you only last 13 seconds? I had had enough of the harassment and exited the vehicle in a cool way. My kneecaps may be destroyed, but at least I looked sick while doing it. I had passed the sons, who'd gotten into a little bit of a situation while heading off to college. I wish I could have helped them, but I had run out of ammo and fusion cores. The next 20 or so minutes were spent fighting through banished soldier after banished soldier who thought that they could compete with the Master Chief. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. Completely unrelated, but Batman can train child soldiers to beat up the impoverished and no one sees a problem with it. But when I train an army of crabs to help me raid ShopRite warehouses and steal all of the Captain Crunch, I'm the bad guy. Another boss fight occurs that was just as easy as the other one. After I was done not dying, I showed the elite the respect he deserves and found what was supposed to be the MILFs. Instead, it was just this dying Spartan. In the words of rapper 2 Chains, rest in peace to the soldiers that died in the service. I dive in her cervix. Except the only diving that I'm doing is off of 30-foot high structures. Before the Spartan had died, he told me of a ShopRite warehouse in the neighborhood. I may not have an army of crustaceans, but what I do have is a half-eaten Snickers bar and an erection. Me and the Cortana fangirl drove to the ShopRite warehouse where we got screwed harder than Anna Maria in 365 days. Sensing I wasn't yet on suicide watch, 343i decided to put me in close quarters with a brute that had the ability to one-shot and leap like the Hulk. After 20 minutes of crying and $800 in noise complaint fines, I beat the mini-boss and grappled my way through the conservatory. Sounds more like a sex dungeon than anything else. Nothing too interesting happened, save for a space coyote attack and me making the Mongol conquest look like a Disney movie. I was actually starting to enjoy myself, and then some flying coyotes showed up and started being the most annoying thing within a 5-mile radius. Once they were dispatched, I rode an elevator to the surface where I found Mrs. Frizzle. She kept teleporting around, and then she hit me with a punch that went harder than when Kanye West said, "Who's up in the van? They my only fans." This massive tower then appeared out of nowhere. At the bottom were some hunters. If you couldn't tell by the name, they're excellent florists. In all seriousness, I don't know what they're good at, but it definitely isn't killing. Inside this structure, this floating sphere attacked me for no reason. Or maybe it's because I said that this place is the bomb with a Hajib on my helmet. I honestly don't know. After an embarrassingly short fight, I used this computer to try to find that cafeteria and accidentally activated the self-destruct sequence. We've all been there. I cinematically left the megastructure and started heading to the closest Chipotle. Along the way, We got caught in the middle of a drive-by and had to make an emergency landing. It was more of a crash, but emergency landing sounds better. With my lunch plans ruined, I set off to disable the AA guns. I decided to speedrun it since I lacked the patience to kill each enemy. Speaking of speedrunning, I knew a girl who was a great speedrunner. Most people speedrun video games, but she speedran having 6 kids, all with different last names. Once all turrets were destroyed, I showed my proficiency in killing these mid-Spartan killers. Ironic, I know. While I was off being the man in their relationship, my Uber driver was hiding in his Pelican, playing dress up. Halloween is still 7 months away, but I respect the hustle. We left Spirit Halloween and tried to get into this password-protected Toys R Us. Password and Password 1 didn't work, so I had to go to a bunch of other shopping centers and try to get the code. All this password getting is reminding me of my time on the varsity football team. The manly sport, not the stuff that they do in Europe. We never fought aliens or anything like that, we just did stuff in the locker room that would make you question our heterosexuality. Once our Facebook-esque data stealing was concluded, I got into the Toys R Us and added assault and battery to my resume of felonies. Deeper inside, I found this carnival ride. I gave it a 3.5 out of 10 due to these seagulls annoying me the entire time and this annoying child screaming. Oh wait, that was just me. I don't like birds. One slip and slide later, I arrive in this room and the weapon starts asking me uncomfortable questions again. There were no plans to jump out of, so I had to make do with the genocide of the Halo Ranks bird population. Once I finished with my bi-weekly killing spree, I rode this futuristic elevator to the next punishment, mission. This level was similar to the last 10 or so, and the enemy after enemy tried to get in the ring with the no-scoping, trick-shotting, no-woman-getter that is me. And enemy after enemy left said ring in a thick plastic bag. I eventually got to this arena, where the floating sphere that I killed like 6 paragraphs ago had returned. This fight was definitely more challenging, but I would still compare the difficulty to the time I played tackle football with preschoolers. I continued forward and shut down what was probably the life support to some Tom Hiddleston stands. The world was a much better place. My joy was short-lived because the dude who had been driving me around decided to go and get himself captured by this elite. I had no intention of rescuing him. I was content with letting him and Escher make biracial kids together. However, just like the time in 5th grade that I had spilled a gallon of chocolate milk on the principal, no one cared what I had to say. Speaking of world-changing events, I'm recording this on Easter, and you guys are obviously going to be watching it after it has passed, since that's how time works. For those that celebrate it, happy late Easter. And for those that don't, stop being such a nerd and grow up already, LMAO. I fought my way through the entire facility, and the closest thing I found to the Lyft driver was a black and white horse. Or maybe it was a zebra, I can never tell the difference. The pilot was being held in this prison that was guarded by a couple of foot soldiers. And by a couple of foot soldiers, I mean an entire battalion of heavily armed racist aliens. Just like me, except I'm not heavily armed or an alien. I got past these aliens with as little killing as possible due to me becoming a pacifist. I got no clue what that means, I'm just trying to hit. I got inside the prison and completed basic training, but instead of mashed potatoes and push-ups, I fought aliens. Then there was advanced training, which had a lot more, how do I put this? Self-death. Once my 100% realistic army training was finished, I fought this elite that had the superpowers of an invisible woman and the annoyance level of a high school freshman. Once he was taken care of, I moved on to the Banished leader whose name sounds like a cryptocurrency. This fight took a while, but not because I kept dying. It's actually a funny story. You see, my boy called me up and said he wanted to get an emotional support animal. Most people get dogs or cats. He wanted to be extra and get a giraffe. Where he got it from and how he got it to his house are still unknown to me. What is known is that giraffes are idiots and will strangle themselves while trying to mate with electrical wires. Rockets, high-velocity spikes, and 15 different racial slurs were all thrown at Ethereum. I defeated Escalator and rescued the pilot. Not because bromance or that cringy stuff, but because their retirement home was having its yearly bingo championship and only one person could get me there. Once at the retirement home, he told me not to die. As you can tell, I followed these orders as well as my dad did with the pay monthly child support instructions. They say struggle builds character. If that's the case, call me Rose Tico, because this mission was a breeze. It was even easier than the time I convinced the kids on an airplane we were on the battle bus and that they should all drop tilted towers. They definitely dropped, except it was 6 feet underground. I continued forward until I found Miss Frizzle. Last time we fought, she absolutely demolished me. That also happened here, but it was to a lesser extent. My perseverance and grit, and the fact that I have nothing better to do on a Saturday night, all assisted me in this fight. Once Miss Frizzle was as alive as my 4th grade class's fish, RIP Robert, I teleported to this mountain to meditate. That lasted a total of 26 seconds. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see when I upload. Thanks for watching and God bless.